Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 is one of the best smartwatches available in the market today. It comes with a lot of smart features, but is it a good fitness tracker? Can it track running and cycling accurately and consistently? Well, this is what we are going to find out in this video. In this video, I am going to test the cycling and running modes of Galaxy Watch 5. And to find out how good their tracking is, I am going to do a total of 4 tests. 2 for tracking running and 2 for tracking cycling. So let's get started. Firstly, I will test the running mode of the Galaxy Watch 5. And in this test, I will compare the stats of the Galaxy Watch 5 to that of the Garmin Forerunner 245 Music. Since Garmin watches are focused on athletes and the Forerunner series is specially made for runners, therefore we will take the tracking of the Forerunner 245M as the benchmark. So I have completed the first test. Since the tracking can differ slightly according to the hand you wear the watch in, so I wore both watches in the same hand. And after completing the run, this is all the data that the Galaxy Watch 5 has to offer, which to be frank seems a lot. Let us look closely at all data Galaxy Watch has recorded. The first thing that you can see is obviously the total duration of the run. There is the kilometer and the average pace. Then you get the map view of the route you took with milestones. This was my starting point and this was my finishing point. And in between there are 6 milestones per laps. The red patch here represents the fastest lap. Then when you scroll down, you will see this graph which shows the pace, elevation, cadence and heart rate during your run. You can select or deselect the value by tapping on the options here. Below the graph you see average and maximum pace, lowest and highest elevation, average and maximum cadence, average and maximum heart rate. Then you get the heart rate zone details. This shows that during my run, my heart rate was in anaerobic zone for almost 90% of the time. Then there is heart rate recovery graph, which shows how quickly your heart rate goes down after finishing the run. Then you get lap details. You can choose to view 1 km laps or 5 km laps. It shows the time that I took to complete each lap along with my pace for that kilometer. The thing that is missing here is the heart rate in each lap. And then there is advanced running metrics that show you different aspects of your run. Then you get the VO2 max data, which for me is in the poor range. So I clearly am not as fit as I used to be. After that you get the estimated sweat loss in milliliter. So in this run, I lost a total of 691 ml of sweat. Below this, it also shows the amount of water that I need to drink to replace 150% of my sweat loss. And at last, you get the workout details that consists of basically everything that we have looked at so far. Now let's see if all the data that we just saw is accurate or not. To check this, let me show you the recorded data by my Garmin Forerunner 245M. The time recorded by Garmin is 42 minutes and 19 seconds. Distance that it recorded is 6.52 kilometers, which is very close to the distance recorded by Galaxy Watch 5. And when you look at the average pace data, then also both the watches are showing almost similar data. So far, so good. It seems that Galaxy Watch 5 after all is not as bad as I was thinking. By the way, when I compared it to a treadmill, then it just returned horrible results. You can check out that video using the I button. The maximum pace according to Garmin is 5 minutes and 18 seconds for a kilometer. And according to Watch 5, it is 5 minutes and 3 seconds, which is again very close. Then, if you look at the maximum and average speed of the Garmin, it is again very close to what Galaxy Watch 5 is showing. Watch 5 is really impressing me out here. Let us look at some more data and see if it can continue to impress. If we look at the heart rate data of both the watches, then they are again very neck to neck. Average and maximum heart rate data of both the devices are very similar. Since we are talking about the heart rate, so let us see if the heart rate graphs tell a similar story or not. Here you can see that the graph of the Garmin 245M is pretty stable. But when you look at the graph of Watch 5, then you will notice that there are a lot of variations. Like in the starting Watch 5's graph is almost touching 180 BPM, whereas at the same time, Forerunner's graph shows the heart rate around 160 BPM. Similarly, there are a lot of steep ups and downs on the Watch 5 graph. But on the other hand, Garmin's graph does not have many steep ups and downs. Let us now look at the heart rate zone data of both watches. Here you can again see that there is a lot of difference in the tracking of the two watches. According to watch 5, my heart rate was in the anaerobic heart rate zone for almost 94% of the time, and it was in the aerobic zone for around 4% of the time. But according to Garmin, my heart rate was in the anaerobic zone for 85% of the time, which is nowhere close to what watch 5 says. Then according to Forerunner, my heart rate was in the maximum heart rate zone for around 8% of the time, but according to watch 5, my heart rate was not in this zone even for 1%. So we can say that the heart rate tracking of the Galaxy Watch 5 is not that accurate. Now let us look at the average and maximum cadence recorded by both watches. The values here are almost the same. And if you look at the elevation data, then you can see that according to Garmin, the lowest elevation was 711 meters and the maximum elevation was 803 meters. But according to watch 5, the lowest elevation was 739 meters and the maximum elevation was 833 meters. The difference between the two watches isn't much, so we can say that the watch 5 is pretty accurate in this regard. So at the end of the first running test, I can say that the running tracking capability of the watch 5 is pretty accurate. However, its activity heart rate tracking is a little off. Now let me do the running test once again so that you can see if Galaxy Watch 5 tracks running consistently or not. So here are the stats of both watches for the second test. According to Galaxy Watch 5, I covered a total of 8.15 kilometers. I took 51 minutes and 34 seconds to cover these kilometers, and my average pace was 6 minutes and 19 seconds per kilometer. According to Garmin, I ran for 8.12 km. The time I took was 51 minutes and 28 seconds, and my average pace was 6 minutes and 20 seconds per kilometer. The basic stats of both watches are pretty similar. Let us now look at some advanced stats. Average and maximum speed recorded by both watches are again similar, and if you look at the average and maximum heart rate data, then it is almost similar. Let us look at the activity heart rate graph of both devices. You can see again that there are a lot of fluctuations in the heart rate of Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 as compared to the Garmin Forerunner 245 Music. There are some fluctuations in the Garmin as well, but they are not as steep as they are on the Galaxy Watch 5. Let us have a look at the heart rate zone data as well. The heart rate zone data of both the watches again tell a totally different story. According to Watch 5, my heart rate was mostly in the anaerobic zone during the exercise, 82.6% to be exact. On the other hand, Garmin shows that my heart rate was in the anaerobic zone for only 60% of the time. According to it, my heart rate was in the maximum heart rate zone for around 37% of the time. But according to Watch 5, it was there for only 4.5% of the time. So we can say that the Watch 5's heart rate tracking was consistently inaccurate. However, if you look at other running stats, then both watches tell a similar story. My running test of Galaxy Watch 5 ends here. And to conclude this test, I can say that Watch 5 can track your runs accurately and consistently. However, it lacks accuracy when it comes to tracking your activity heart rate. So if you are an athlete and want accurate activity heart rate data, then you should probably not buy Watch 5. However, on the other hand, if you are not a pro athlete and are not preparing for any competition, then you can definitely go for Galaxy Watch 5. It can accurately track your everyday runs. Like running, I will be doing 2 cycling tests to check the accuracy and consistency of the Galaxy Watch 5. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So I am done with the first test. Let's see what all the Galaxy Watch 5 managed to track. Like the running stats, you get the total duration of the activity, kilometers covered, and the average speed at the top. Then you get the map that shows you the route with milestones. It also shows you the fastest lap out of all the laps in the red. Scroll down and then you have the speed, elevation, and heart rate graph. You select or deselect the graph you want to see. Then it displays average and maximum speed. My average speed was 19.6 km per hour and the maximum speed that I achieved was 29.6 km per hour. Lowest and highest elevation, average and maximum heart rate. After this, you get the heart rate zones data. According to it, my heart rate was in the low intensity zone for around 36.5% of the time, which I guess is true because I was riding the bike in relaxed mode and wasn't actually pushing myself. Let us look at the heart rate graph once to see if there are fluctuations like the running tests or not. There you go, it even has higher fluctuations as compared to the running test. And this part here tells us that it is quite inaccurate because I don't think it is humanly possible to go from around 90 bpm to around 140 bpm in this short span of time and then drop the heartbeat again so quickly. So the activity heart rate tracking of the Galaxy Watch 5 is not that accurate. Then it shows that heart rate recovery graph, which shows how quickly my heart rate became normal after finishing the workout. After that, it shows the lap-wise details, so you get time, distance and speed for every lap. The thing that it misses out on in the cycling mode as well is the heart rate data for every lap. Then you get workout details. It is basically the aggregation of all the data in one place that we have looked at so far. So it shows you a lot of information. But let us see if it measures cycling consistently or not. I have finished the second test, and to measure its consistency, I have taken the exact same route and tried to ride the bicycle as I rode it in the first test. You can see the time taken for both tests is almost similar. The distance covered is almost the same, and the average speed is similar as well. But let's dive a little deeper to see if Galaxy Watch 5 managed to track other metrics consistently or not. When you will look at the heart rate graph of this test, then you can see that the fluctuations are a little less compared to the earlier test, and overall it seems more consistent in this one. The heart rate zones also tell a different story. In the previous test, my heart rate was in the low intensity zone most of the time. In this test, it is in aerobic zone for the most part of the activity. So overall, I can say that the activity heart rate of the Galaxy Watch 5 is not consistent at all. Other than the heart rate data, all the other things seems pretty consistent. From workout calories, average speed and average pace to elevations and average heart rate, everything is almost similar in both tests. Therefore, it is safe to say that Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 can track your cycling sessions consistently. However, if you are a pro athlete, then heart rate data may be very important to you, which Watch 5 does not seem to track accurately. With that, I end the Samsung Galaxy Watch 5 running and cycling test video. I hope I was able to answer the questions that you had in mind regarding this. If there is anything that is still not clear, then you can ask us that in the comments. And if you like this video, then do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos like this. I will now see you in the next video. Till then, take care.